friend of the show, Peter Welch, vows to vote against the spending bill. Congressman, there's a lot to dislike in this bill. The White House is trying to get Dems like you on their side. What could the White House offer that would get you to a yes?
Well, we should take these two provisions out as a start. And here's why this is so significant. What reforms we should make to Dodd-Frank, that's a fair question. But having this provision put in a midnight hour, and even if leadership agreed to it, there were no hearings, the rank and file wasn't involved, and this was presented to us literally at the last moment. And it's paired with an explosion in the amount of money that the people who benefit from this provision can give to party committees. In a cycle, it would be like $750,000. So you literally have two non-germane, irrelevant provisions to the budget. One that says that will relax Dodd-Frank so banks can make more money, and second, a provision that says the bankers who make more money can give more money to Congress and congressional committees. That does not look like it's on the level, and it's one of the problems that we've got to deal with. This should be a transparent vote on the merits after hearings. So it would be simple to pass this if they just deleted those two non-germane provisions.
Hey, Congressman, this is Ari Melber joining you also here from Washington. You keep mentioning the term non-germane, which for people who aren't parliamentarians just means this is a trick. It's a trick, as you're saying, because this kind of thing probably wouldn't pass on an up or down vote if it were alone, so it has to be snuck into a larger thing that we're being told must pass. I spoke to some folks on the Senate side today who said it was hugely controversial in that Democratic Senate-only caucus meeting. Do you think, though, that you have the argument here to say they want to make this about these issues? Fine. This isn't just a budget bill anymore. This is a let Wall Street do what it wants bill. I think even if you had a shutdown fight over that, the country can look and say, wait, that's the way Republicans are gearing up for not only the holidays, but taking over their control of Congress?
Well, you're probably right on the politics, but I have a kind of different view here. I think Speaker Boehner made a sincere effort to negotiate towards a one-year budget, and our negotiators came up with something that was going to be passed with some Democratic votes. And by allowing probably the Senate leadership to put these two provisions in that have absolutely nothing to do with the funding of government, but a lot to do with the funding of political parties and a lot to do with Wall Street, we could bring this down. It really undercuts the credibility of this. And, you know, one of the big challenges that both sides face is to try to restore some public confidence in this institution that doesn't have any. And by this business-as-usual approach, we literally are grasping defeat from the jaws of victory.
Congressman, you're on the Homeland Security Subcommittee. I'm curious your reaction to Director Brennan's comments, remarks earlier today when he admitted the CIA made mistakes but continued to say that they got useful information from torture, although they're not sure if that information actually came directly from the torture. Your response?
Well, first of all, he did admit it, and he's had a distinguished career, 34 years, dedicated his life to the security of this country. But what he said was fine. It was really a number of, quote, explanations. 9/11, everything changed, game on, and a lot of the rules were thrown by the wayside. Number two, the Bush administration, the president specifically gave the CIA permission to do this. Number three, he has come to the conclusion that President Obama was right in seeing that this did not do good things for our ability to fight terrorism because it created so many complications in our relationships with other leaders whose help we need. And number four, he said it is not known whether this actually produced any useful information, whether there was a cause and effect. So I think there was an acknowledgement that this was beyond what should have been done. The other thing, he gave a defense to the folks who did this bad stuff, which he said was bad, but then acknowledged that there were some folks in the CIA who did really, really bad stuff. And I think it still raises the question of what accountability should be required for what happened with this torture program.
You think people should be fired, Congressman?
You know, I tend not to get into the firing issue. When you get to a situation where you've got there was a lot of people involved here, including President Bush, who was supporting this policy. And Mr. Brennan, of course, is the CIA director, and some of my colleagues are calling for him to be fired. But would that really solve the problem? Was there a lack of congressional oversight as part of this? You know, in the budget bill that we passed just the other day, Cynthia Lummis and I had an amendment that would require that there be top-line disclosure of the spending in our various intelligence agencies. It's a recommendation of the 9/11 Commission. That wasn't even allowed to be debated on the floor. So Congress has to, I think, accept some responsibility for oversight here as well.